All right, the search continues for a new Supreme Court nominee. President Biden has been meeting with Republicans and Democrats as he narrows in on a selection to fill Justice Stephen Breyer's seat. Nancy Cordes has more details. All right, so Nancy's joining us now to talk about this. Nancy, so this search that is continuing, the president met with Dick Durbin yesterday. He also met with some other leaders in the Senate. What happened?
Well, he told Senator Durbin, who's the chair of the Senate Judiciary Committee, so he is really the point person when it comes to shepherding this nominee through Congress. He told him that he would like to see that nominee get confirmed, whoever she is, within 40 days of President Biden naming her, which he has vowed to do by the end of the month. Now, that is doable, but it is a pretty ambitious timeline, and everything would have to go right for Democrats to make it happen.
This is not a static issue. It flows back and forth.
Hoping to head off any problems, President Biden met Tuesday with the top Democrat and top Republican on the Senate Judiciary Committee and vowed to seek advice from both sides before choosing a Supreme Court nominee.
Selecting a justice is one of the president's most serious responsibilities.
But several Republicans, including Texas Senator Ted Cruz, are slamming the president's campaign promise to nominate the first black female justice.
He's saying, if you're a white guy, tough luck.
At least a dozen women are currently under consideration. They include federal judges, state Supreme Court justices, professors, and civil rights lawyers. Several are former public defenders or prosecutors.
Black women are, 6% of the U.S. population? He's saying to 94% of Americans, I don't give a damn about you.
I don't buy that argument.
Alberto Gonzalez was Attorney General to former President George W. Bush.
I know President Bush was very interested in appointing Hispanic.
When Senator Cruz says that it's an insult to black women, you would say?
I don't think they're going to be insulted. No more insulted than the women were when Ronald Reagan considered Sandra Day O'Connor to put on the Supreme Court.
Now, part of the problem for Democrats who want to move quickly here is the fact that they have such a fragile 50-seat majority in the Senate, where even one absence can force them to hold off on tough votes. Just yesterday, the office of New Mexico Senator Ben Ray Lujan announced that he has suffered a stroke. They say he is expected to make a full recovery, though it's unclear right now when Senator Lujan is going to be able to return to Washington. Of course, everyone is wishing him a very speedy recovery.
And Nancy, you've sort of shed some light on the question that I'm going to ask, which is about why the president is reaching across the aisle, why he appears to be looking for Republican support. But hey, we're in the middle of a pandemic. At any given moment, someone could come down with COVID and then not be able to show up, right? So is that what he's thinking about?
That's one of the things he's thinking about. You never want to solely rely on your majority to push a nominee through when your majority is only 50 votes at the most, and of course one more vote if you count the vice president if she needs to break a tie. It would of course be easier for this president if he could count on a cushion, if he could count on Republican votes for the nominee. Beyond that, you know, the president was the chair of the Judiciary Committee himself at a different time in the Senate when you routinely saw overwhelming majorities voting for Supreme Court nominees from the right and the left, even if they didn't necessarily agree with that nominee's views. The thinking was that as long as you thought that this person was qualified to be on the Supreme Court, you should go ahead and vote yes, because it only strengthens the Supreme Court and its voice in the political process, in the judicial process. And so things have really changed since then. You often now see party line votes or near party line votes when it comes to Supreme Court nominees. Obviously, things are much more polarized, but President Biden is trying to remind people, hey, it didn't always work that way. And that's part of the reason that he's been so vocal about the fact that he wants to consult with Republicans, get their advice before he names his pick.
Yeah, Nancy, kudos on you to having the former Attorney General for George W. Bush, Alberto Gonzalez, in your story there, because people perhaps forget that President Reagan was explicit about who he wanted to place on the Supreme Court when he thought about nominating Sandra Day O'Connor. He said, it's time that we have a woman on the Supreme Court of the United States. President Biden is seemingly doing something similar. You didn't see the pushback back then that you're seeing now. So I'm curious as to whether or not senators are going to get up there when they are interviewing these candidates and they're going to make it all about the candidate's race and her gender.
Mm-hmm. Guess who else was explicit about wanting to name a woman to the Supreme Court? The previous president, President Trump. He said flat out that he wanted to name a woman to the Supreme Court, and he did. And many of the Republicans who are speaking out now, and it's not all Republicans by all means, but it is a vocal minority of Republicans who are saying that there is something wrong with President Biden stating flat out that he'd like to name a black woman. Those Republicans did not say anything publicly about the fact that President Trump did something very similar before he named Amy Coney Barrett to the bench. So the White House, by and large, is kind of ignoring this, and chalking it up to politics and Republicans wanting to gin up their base. They will certainly criticize it if you ask them about it, but they assume that kind of talk will die down, and that whoever President Biden's nominee is, and he has a very distinguished group of women who he is said to be choosing from and thinking about right now, their assumption is that that person will be treated with the respect that they deserve and have earned.
All right. Well, Nancy, thank you very much.
You're welcome.